Welcome to the Inspired Podcast. I'm your host, Andrea De La Cerda, and each week I'm bringing you the latest discussions and news about changes in the landscape of education and entrepreneurship. As a 22-year entrepreneur, corporate executive, business coach, and leader, I mentor a community of change-making men and women to get out of their box and step into their true calling to make the biggest impact on this world. This podcast is all about empowering us all, navigating life's twists and turns, and stepping into the fullest version of who we're meant to be. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show today. I am here with a very special guest, Jennifer Kornoely. She's the founder of She Reads, She Leads Book Club, a learning community that helps women grow confidence and leadership skills through intentional reading and shared conversation. After leaving the corporate world in 2015 to start her own business, Jennifer quickly realized that while she was skilled in her craft, essential areas like confidence, finance, marketing, and business growth were largely self-taught, which I think many of us can relate to. Through personal development books and masterminds, she discovered a common challenge that women were learning powerful ideas but struggling to implement them. That insight led her to create She Reads, She Leads, a space where women don't just read, but learn together, apply ideas in real life, and grow in community. Based in Boise, Idaho, Jen is passionate about lifelong learning, meaningful connection, and expanding how women experience education. So she's a perfect fit for our audience today. Welcome, Jen. Thank you so much for joining us. It's so great to have you.
Thank you for having me and for such a wonderful introduction.
Yeah, oh my gosh, absolutely. Like you've done, the chutzpah, right? Like we talked for a few minutes, before starting the show, but you have, you've been on the other side, you've been in the corporate world and made that decision because you just felt like there's more for you, or there's more opportunity that you want to live out here in this life. So you want to talk a little bit about that decision?
Yeah, absolutely. I think corporate is really designed to kind of keep you in your lane, and you sit in your cubicle, you show up at a certain time, you leave at a certain time, and you do your task. And there isn't a lot of room for creativity or strategy or growth or real life. It's not meant to accommodate mothers, women in general, um, ADHDers. It's just not meant to let us flourish and expand. And none of those work for me. So I love being away from corporate and helping other women to develop their entrepreneurial self so that they can create a life that not only just works for them, helps them to flourish.
So that's wonderful. So tell me a little bit about the decision to focus specifically on women. Were you seeing did you have a passion for that audience? Do you see some differences between how men and women approach business? Like what was your thinking?
Oh, 1,000%. So I really think the way messages are created towards women are very different than the way they're created towards men. The entire world is created for the safety, the comfort, and the culture of men and for their benefit. There are very few spaces that are created specifically for women to meet their needs and allow them to flourish. I mean, even like look at the way marketing messages are geared towards men and women when it comes to money and wealth. Men are talked to from a place of abundance. Invest, be aggressive, do the things. Women are taught, be scarce, flip your coupons, don't buy your latte, do your nails at home. So the messaging is different when it comes to men and women. So women need that space where they can be vulnerable, they can come together and have a safe place to talk about the things that they're struggling with.
Do you find, and I'm curious, we'll talk a little bit more about, your community specifically and how you built that, but I know you do spend a lot of time with women in business who are navigating entrepreneurship and probably having some tough conversations. What do you find that they struggle with the most? Like, is there an area where they often get in their own way frequently? What are those things?
I'm seeing a lot of women create businesses for themselves, not because they have necessarily a business background or a business savvy, but to solve a problem, usually at home. They're a working mom, they need to bring in some extra income, but that works around the schedule for their kids. Or they're juggling another profession and they need some extra side money, things like that. And so a lot of times women are starting businesses, which is fantastic. I mean, we're the largest demographic of new businesses, but we're starting these businesses to fill a need, but we're lacking in, okay, now what? I want to start this business. I don't know how to. I don't know how to do it effectively. I don't know how to run it profitably. So they're trying to solve a problem without the skill set of how to do it. or how to do it well.
Yeah, and then I also wonder, I mean, I've this is totally anecdotal because I don't have any scientific evidence here, but I'm in data. But I mean, it seems to me based on a lot of the conversations that we also have with women is that when they are making the decision to do, something for themselves, it tends to be like a bit of a they think of it kind of like a side hustle, a little bit like
Yeah.
a maybe just for some extra spending money or just to pay for that one car payment that we can't quite cover with, their partner's salary. Do you see that? And do you think that that affects the way that they approach their business?
Absolutely. And it kind of goes back to what I was just saying about how the messaging is different when it's geared towards
Hmm.
women. We're told to be more like conservative or think smaller, be quieter, be better, be in your little box. We're never
Yeah.
taught to go and be aggressive and do it big. Like it's great to have a little side hustle and you want to have some, extra date night money coming in or, just some vacation funds. That's great. But why does it have to be small?
Yeah.
I hear even in a lot of networking meetings that I'm going to, women will say, "Oh, I run a small little, insert business here." No, it's not a small little.
Like it's almost like embarrassing to say that it's not
Yeah.
small. Like it's
Or
almost like,
or like they trying to make it this diminutive little thing. No, you run XYZ, whatever it is. Or why not use adjectives that are I run a large, I run a successful. Like we
yeah.
need to change our vocabulary because what we're doing is important. When women have access to resources and money, we do amazing things. We
Mhm.
help society, we make things better, we make things more beautiful. We do good things when we have resources. So why not use the vocabulary of bigger and better? It's not just
Yeah.
a little side hustle.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's such a good point. And why do we say that? I mean, there's probably a million reasons in the little messages that we've picked up, when we were
Oh, for sure.
small girls, right? That is supposed to be, it's like almost not okay to say you're successful. It's like bragging. It's like, posturing. I mean, that's not attractive. Yeah. When men do that and it is. So tell me a little bit about the book club that you lead. So she reads, she leads book club. How does someone join? What does this look like? Do you choose the books? And if so, how do you choose them? You know?
So we vote. Everybody every month gets to vote. We have a list of maybe like a dozen-ish books. There'll be like books that are recommended or books that are really trending right now. And we vote every month. And whatever is the winning book is what we'll read as a group. Everyone goes and reads on their own. And then we come together once a month on Zoom to discuss it. And it's really great because the questions that come up are never what's planned for or expected. And we'll have people who are really opening up and being vulnerable. We had a book a few months ago about money mindset. Like tears were shed because people were having to admit, I'm not good with money. I don't have a good financial literacy. And it was such a safe space for people to bring their own experiences into the conversation and for it to pivot like, oh, I've never thought about things that way. So the Zoom conversations that we have every month are like the golden nuggets of the book club. Everyone can go and read a book on their own and, create this huge list of, oh, I've read this many books this year. But when you're having a conversation about the books with other women that it pertains to, it changes the entire dynamic of what you're learning.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I can imagine. And I mean, as women, we want that community too. Like we look for that.
A
There's
thousand
something
percent.
about that connection that we make that
Yes.
like things somehow become stickier or they somehow like become more profound. I know that well, I've seen this and perhaps you have too, and I've done this for myself. How many times have I gotten in my own way? I might have a big idea or a big goal in mind, but I mean, I spent probably the first 15 years of my career getting in my own way all the time. And, and I think that, and I mentioned to you before we started the show that there's certain books that I've read in the past that hit totally different for me when I read them the second time, maybe years
Yeah.
later, maybe I was in a different frame of mind or I had done some work on myself that allowed me to kind of resonate with the book in a different way. So, what is it, do you think? Can you describe what you see in terms of the gap between women who read the words and walk away with a general understanding of the concepts and know how it relates to them, but then implementing change in their
Mm.
life? What does that process look like, or what have you seen there?
So there's this thing called the learning pyramid. And, if you picture a pyramid, the bottom is big and the top is tiny. When you read a book and you're just consuming it, whether you're listening to an audiobook or you're, reading a physical book, you're only going to retain like 10 to 20% of the information. The rest of it just, flies out your head. When you start having a conversation about that, what you just read and consumed, you're going to start retaining about 50% of the information. So now you're talking about it, more of the content that you've learned, all those, golden nuggets, those bits of wisdom, those business ideas, they're sticking around longer in your head. As soon as you start teaching it to other people, it goes up to 70%. And sorry, other way around. As soon as you start implementing it into your business, it goes up to 70%. As soon as you start teaching it, it goes up to 90%. So consuming, nonfiction is only the very first step in growing your business savvy, your financial literacy, whatever the thing is that you're learning. You have to start having conversation and being in community and implementing it and teaching others for all that really great information to stick around and live in your head.
Mm-hmm. So interesting. That is really interesting. So, what have you observed for women who have been enrolled in this program and in the community?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen some success for them? Can you share just anecdotally, maybe what you've seen some
Oh,
women
yeah.
accomplish?
1,000%. So it was last month, we read the book Profit First, which is
Ah,
often considered like the best book that every entrepreneur needs to be reading. And, a lot of times as entrepreneurs, especially like solopreneurs, we struggle with, how much do I pay myself? I don't know. How much should I be spending on business expenses? How much do I need to be setting aside for taxes? Like, I don't know. There's $10,000 in your business account. Okay, great. I got $10,000 to spend. No, you don't. You still have to pay yourself. You still have to pay for your subscriptions. You still have to pay for taxes. Knowing things like that, we read this book and it was such new information for so many people, but other people were rereading the information. So they were bringing a different perspective.
hmm
When we had our Zoom call, one lady was like, yeah, I've been using this for a couple years. This is how I do it. And so it was giving kind of a firsthand perspective of that's what it logistically looks like. And then we had someone guest on our Zoom who is a finance coach. And he's like, I teach people how to do this. So he was lending a different perspective. So having these different layers of being a mentor, being a mentee, teaching, learning, it adds such a great conversation rather than just, I read this book, this is what I got out of it.
hmm
Instead, you're able to ask questions and see from other or learn from other people who've done the thing already.
Well, yeah, because it's more than just a book club. You've got a
It
group of
is.
entrepreneurs that are almost like, if you think about like they're in the lab, right? They're in the science lab testing all of these theories out, right? And so super helpful to learn from people who are, I say look up the ladder, like people who have been there and done that or tried that and learning from their experience. So it's sort of like it's a book club, but more than that because as
It's like a
you're bringing
mastermind.
it's like a mastermind book club. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
super fun. Very interesting.
We
So, how do people find out about you? Where is it the best place for them to go to find information about how they might be able to be involved?
I'm all over LinkedIn and Facebook. And there's also of course, the she leads.com website. And there's a bunch of resources on the website beyond just signing up to the book club, which we welcome all the ladies to do. But there's I put together a downloadable PDF of read these 3 books first. And it's 3 books across 6 different categories discussing different topics: financial literacy, wealth and investing, networking and community building, things like that. Things that all entrepreneurs need to be introduced to different topics.
And do you find that those in your community all have the same objective? I mean, do you sense that they all want to grow? Is there a
Oh,
requirement
yeah.
that you need to if you need to commit to your own personal growth if you're going to be part of this program? Otherwise, I
It's
feel like
it's kind of implied. Most people aren't really reading books about finance just for funsies. People are reading it because they want to learn, they want to improve, they want their life to be better. So it's sort of implied. And plus, because it is a membership, you do have some skin in the game. I mean, granted, it's incredibly affordable. It's only $15 a month, so it's not a huge barrier for most people. But it also just we have on our schedule, okay, third Tuesday of the month, we're getting on a Zoom at 6 o'clock and we're going to have this conversation. We hold each other accountable. In our Facebook group, we'll be touching base. Hey, have you finished the book? What did you think about it? Or posting pictures of ourselves reading it. So there is kind of an accountability just because you're part of a community.
that's really fantastic. I mean, is it only women, or it sounded like you mentioned a couple men in the group as well?
The group is for only women, but we have had a
Okay.
few authors or experts
Okay.
visit our Zoom discussions. We did a book maybe about a year ago called The Wealth of Connection. And the author is a good friend and a really amazing person and storyteller. So he came and joined our Zoom and was able to like do some Q&A about the book. So we'll invite men then, but the group mostly needs to be a safe space for women to be
Mhm.
vulnerable and to open up.
I actually that made me think of another question I wanted to get your perspective on. So this is something that I've thought about. There's Profit First. It's a great book. I've read that a couple of times. There's other ones like Buy Back Your Time or 10x is easier than 2x or like a lot of the Dan Sullivan books. A lot of the ones that I think are really well known today. Many of them, I mean, and I've read them and they're fantastic. And I always get something out of it that I can apply to my business. But they're all written by men. And I can tell when I'm reading the books, I get it because like I got
Hmm.
enough masculine chutzpah and hustle, right? So like to make this thing happen. But then it sometimes is interesting to me that I don't find too many leadership books or business books that are written by women that have that a different perspective than that just the
Yeah.
check it off your list, the hustle. Do you see that, or what is your
I really do. I really do. The struggle is real. I've been really glad that I found some personal finance books written by women for women, and especially for like a millennial and Gen Z audience, which is great because that's like when you need to start learning and developing your financial literacy is when you're in your 20s and 30s.
yeah?
But just blanket leadership books, it is hard to come by women authors. And even if they're out there, they're not promoted to the same level, whether
Hmm.
that's a bias or what's going on. Everyone sees the books by Alex Hormozy. And, what about the women authors? Are they just not being promoted? Are women not writing to the same extent? I don't know. I guess note to publishers start
Yeah, I
finding
mean,
the women authors on
I
leadership.
I'm not convinced that they're not writing.
Yeah, I don't think it's a lack of the writing. I really think are they just not being
Mm,
published and promoted to the same rate?
wow. Well, that's interesting, and also puts you in a really potentially like influential position to be able to really amplify some of those ideas for those
Yeah.
women who are making the cut right now. So that's huge and so
Yeah,
encouraging.
because I am careful about like which if it's a book written by a man and especially say it's personal finance, I'm really cautious of recommending a book like that because a lot of the advice does not apply to a single mother or a
Mhm.
woman making only $30,000 a year. It's a very different language used. So it might not always apply and it might come out just offensive, you know?
Yeah, condescending maybe.
Yeah.
No, it's a really good point. So I'm curious though, on that note, do you have any, not to put you on the spot, but do you have any book recommendations that our audience, mostly women, could benefit from? If they're
Oh,
getting
1,000%.
started and they're, what would you say
Yes.
like the top three, that they should
I
know?
think the top 3, every woman needs to start with personal finance because we no ma regardless of our situation, we need to be savvy about the money that is sitting in our account right now, where it's coming from, where it's going, and how do we get more of it. So I
Mhm.
would recommend The Financial Feminist by Tori Dunlap.
Okay.
Great, great book. She really talks a lot about the systems that our culture has set in place are not set up for the advantage of women. And we need to be aware of that. Another one would be Rich AF by Vivian Tu. Great book. She really talks about coming from a Chinese immigrant background and how that really plays a different role just in the mindset of growing up around money. And then Tiffany Aliche, Get Good with Money. And she really talks about learning how to budget and not having it be a constraint but more a source of information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
good. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Like how we see it, it's just our view of it, whether if it's negative, if at any core in our subconscious we feel like money and resources are negative or they're scarce, or if I have more, that means someone else has less. Like these play into our subconscious in such a powerful way. So it's really
yeah.
cool.
Someone else having more does not mean you have less.
No,
Let's
the
face it, there is an
universe is
unlimited amount.
plenty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything is
plenty of
unlimited.
abundance. Absolutely. Universe does not see it that way. So, so Nate, a third? Did you give us a third yet?
Yeah, the Financial Feminist, Rich AF, and Get Good with Money.
Get good with money. Yes. So we will
Yes.
post those in our show notes as well. So to make sure that everyone has some links to those. Definitely, we're getting the message. Hear that, ladies? Forgetting the message. Watch your finances. Know how to manage your money. And don't be afraid of it. Also, it sounds like.
No, it's a tool. Money is only a tool. And the people who tell you don't talk about money, don't talk about your salary, that's just a way to control people. I mean, it's my sort of not so conspiracy theory. Like we
Hmm.
should be talking about money and what different roles are earning and how to get more of it and how to keep it.
Yeah. And I tell women too that, when we think about money for the sake of money, I think that's hard for a lot of women to get behind. But when we think about that it takes money to make a big impact in the world,
Yeah.
and for us to personally feel safe in the world, number one, and then also be able to make the impact that we all want to make, many of us
Hmm.
want to make on this world, it takes resources to be able to do that. So it's
It
like
does.
reframing it to a way that feels good. It feels
Yeah.
heartfelt. It feels heart forward, which is,
And it's just a tool. Money allows you access to anything, whether it's education, better quality food,
mhm.
living in the place you want to live, leaving bad jobs or bad relationships. Money is just a tool to get you the things you want, whether they're necessities or frivolous, doesn't matter. Money is just a tool. If I was building a
Freedom
house,
and
I would have the
safety.
right tools. Yes.
Yeah, freedom and safety. I truly believe that if women have a lot of money, make a lot of money, they do feel safer in the world that we live in.
Hmm.
And it's just true. So I love what you're doing. It's so fantastic. I'm so glad to have you join me today on have this conversation. It's such an important conversation for a lot of women. Both the fact that there's resources out there like books that Jen, you know so well, so they can certainly, again, they can come to your Instagram, to reach your website. Also, she leads.com. So you can find Jen there if you're interested in joining the community or learning more about it. But also all the information that you've given today, and thank you for the book recommendations. But this is all so encouraging for the women who listen. So thank you so much, Jen, for coming today. It was really great to have you come.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me on today's episode. If you'd like to explore what your life could look like when your business and life are aligned with what you're really meant to do, get a business audit. I'll personally review your business, look at your social accounts, and give you some precise direction on what's working and how to create even more impact and income. Simply go to andreadelacerda.com, navigate to work with me, and select the business audit. Again, that's andreadelacerda.com. Work with me and then select the business audit. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like and subscribe. That way more content like this can be shared with you as soon as new episodes drop. Thanks so much for joining again. See you soon. Take care.